5:45. I'm calling to order this meeting of the Board of Adjustments of the City of Bandera. September 22nd, 2020 at 5:45 p.m. During the meeting, items will be considered and the board may take action on any of the items. Item 1, consideration, discussion, and possible action on a request by J. Durwood Owen and Kathleen McKenzie Owen, owners of 906 14th Street, Bandera, Texas, for a 13-foot variance from the minimum distance allowed for residential setbacks through the terms of the City Code of Ordinances, Article 10-2-4, District Regulations, Section B, District R2, Duplex Use Regulations. Jimmy, would you like to give us a history on this, please?
Yes, ma'am. The way this started was, the way this started was July 31st. Mr. Kevin Quarles came in and applied for a residential building permit for Miss Owen, and the plans have been approved already. But I went out and inspected the site for the setbacks, and it showed that if y'all are familiar with 14th Street, those two blocks there, we had an issue with the 800 block with that porch being in the easement after they replatted years ago. Same thing over here on this block, and it seems like those are the only two blocks that have been affected by that. When Mr. Quarles did his setback, he measured by where the fence had stopped, which looked like the property line, which is on this side of the meter, just like on the 800 block. Well, after I went out there and he had surveyed the pins where he thought he was at 25 feet, he was only at 1 foot for his setback, which is a substantial difference. And so I brought him out there and I showed him, I said, this is your property line, and that's where your setback's measured from, not from the street. And so I had to explain to him about the replat and that, you know, we had that issue across there, and I actually showed him where that porch was, well, I think, if I remember correctly, like 7 feet into the easement. And so I told him, at this point, you've only got 1 foot of setback and you need 25. So they did some moving around of the house and changing it and trying to reposition it, and she got within 13 feet of being in compliance. They were actually able to get 12 feet off of that property line instead of the 1 foot. So that's why she needs the 13-foot variance so she can continue with this project. Now, I did some talking with BV, and it will kind of address some of these concerns in the letter if you want me to address any of these concerns.
Of BV's concerns?
No, BV and me got together, and some of these concerns in this letter from the public can be answered if y'all like me to talk
Counsel?
about those.
Yes, please.
Okay. In this first letter by Mr. and Mrs. Calloway, item number 1, it says the property is already too small for the units it currently has. According to the R2 district that's in, she needs 8,000 square feet, and she has 14,000, so she's well within having enough room for that. Item number 2, the congestion of additional buildings that the fire hazard, and the fire hazard it will present for surrounding properties. The code requires 15 feet, the building code, 15 feet between buildings. After talking to BV, they said that they can go within 5 feet of another building, but they have to put a 1-hour firewall. If they can actually connect the two buildings, but then they have to have a 2-hour firewall. And Mr. Quarles has been made aware of all that. So if they did have to make the buildings closer, they are aware of the changes in the firewall that would have to be made. As far as insufficient parking, I couldn't really answer that. I guess they're going to make it work however they have it made. Part of the plans don't include the parking, so I don't have an answer for the parking. Other than that, I think Miss Major had a concern about the oak tree. I know they took down an oak tree that was in the middle of the property already. I don't think they have any intention of taking down the bigger one that's in the front, or they would have done it already when they did the one that was in the middle of the building. So that's my assumption on that. And I believe another one of her concerns was she was asking why the building. May I approach over here?
Please.
She was asking why the building is set off from the property line here, and my guess is when these were made, maybe this doesn't honor the setback, and any new build has to honor the setback. They can either have 5 foot on one side or 10 foot on the other, as long as they have one on each side. And they have 10-foot setback here, so they're honoring the setbacks, and if it's making it push out from this building, then that's just how they have to do it. So just to give you a visual, this is that 1 foot setback that they originally had when they had the building there. This is where he originally measured from. And when I showed him his property pin was over here, it only gave him a foot. I think what they've done is actually turned this and scooted it closer to the other one and left 12 feet of space here. And if you think about it, that's kind of what we did in the 800 block, is we just gave them a little bit more because it's cutting into their property. All these fences, these adjacent properties are sticking way out here. And that's where people are thinking their property line is.
According to that site plan, on the 14th Street walls, this is 14th Street, right?
This is 14th Street
Okay.
right here.
That wall, how far is it off the property line, the way that it sits?
The way this is on this plot is the way she had it originally drawn out, this would be 1 foot. This is where they originally thought it was gonna be, out here. So I'm gonna go ahead and say this probably isn't to scale.
Okay.
Let's see, yeah, so most of your utilities are on this side of the property line. And so a lot of people assume that it's right here, but when it got replatted, it moved it way over here. So if you look down those 2 blocks, all those property fences go all the way past way over here. But in all actuality, their property line's out here, so those fences are in the easement. And that's just what
Right.
happened when they replatted.
We saw that when we were looking at Ms.
Right,
Paul's house.
exactly. And so that's kind of what she's run into here. She wants to do this, and where they thought the property line was, it's not, it's over here. And they've been able to make the adjustments and move this building and change it to where they've come almost with halfway.
Can they turn it this way?
That's what I'm saying, that's what I think they've done. I
But
think
is that the turned building though? That's not the turned building?
no, this is before they made the,
Okay,
this is before they made the adjustments.
okay.
What I think they've done is they've turned this building this way and gotten closer to that one. And he's gonna have to honor the firewall.
Yes,
Jimmy, why aren't we seeing the one that they turned?
Yeah.
Because the way it right now looks like we're not up to code with the way it is, and we're not if it's set that close.
Well, the reason is because they've out there and they've measured it out. They haven't paid to have anything else done like this because they don't know if they're gonna have the approval or not. Well, they'll have to submit a new one of these with a new layout to me once they know that they can do it, but that costs a lot of money, and until they know they're able to do it, they don't wanna have another one of these drafted out. But this building right here, the way they've made the adjustments, I think they've turned it this way and given themselves 12 feet here instead of 1.
Well, they'll have space on both sides, if I understand, to make like a circle driveway behind it if they wanted to or something to help.
Well, I'm not sure what, that's only 10 feet here,
Right.
and this is gonna have to scoot closer to that building if I'm not mistaken. So your parking's probably gonna be along this edge. So they have parking right here right now, they have parking right here, and so it's probably gonna be parking right here.
Do you know the dimensions, well, on this building right now?
Right now, those dimensions. The way that they have it out now is going to be. Can I approach?
You bet.
The way they have it now is 52 feet by 38, and it looks like 8, or 33.8, if I'm reading that correctly. It's kind of spotty. So we're looking at from here to here, 33.8 by 52 feet.
Okay, I
2
guess
units.
what, with the way it's on the plat right there, it's hard to understand it.
Right.
But if we turn it like you're saying,
Right. So
then
this,
we're moving it back further.
if we're looking at it right now, it looks like this.
Right.
Okay, this is what they're doing. And it's giving them.
It's still
12.
gonna be at an angle.
Well, I'm not sure how much of an angle. It's gonna be enough of an angle to where they've gone from 1 foot to 12 foot, and it's gonna leave them 13 feet short, and that's what she's requesting.
Can they
for a
turn
variance.
it parallel to the property line?
That's probably what they're doing. I'm going off with what he's telling me right now, which is,
But it wouldn't be a problem if they do that.
no, and
right?
it would probably look better, and I'm sure that's what Mr. Quarles is gonna do. He's building a house right now over in Whitetail, and it's pretty nice,
Yeah.
so. I wouldn't imagine it's gonna be cockeyed like that. I'm pretty sure he's gonna turn it square and 90 degree to that other building.
I think that's what may be confusing the council because of the way it's setting. If we had it showing it, you know, I call it square to the property line.
Sure,
but
sure.
people do it, which is the normal way to build. You don't normally
Correct.
turn one at an angle. Do y'all understand what he's saying?
Yes, I know.
Yes.
That was why I was asking, why didn't they just turn it and?
It would be easier for me to vote for it if I saw it on a proper layout.
Well,
This
you-
is a little bit confusing.
Another question I have is,
Right.
there are no dimensions on the property, so, you know, apparently, and I drove by there today to check this out, but the driveway to the back comes up one side of this property. So if they, and I don't know how wide the property is, so if they could take 50 foot of it, well, 50, whatever it is, 60 foot with the easement, 65, are they gonna have to change this drive
This,
pattern over here?
this is your 14th Street.
Right.
And this is the building, so it's square to the property line, I guess it was sitting up there crooked, so
And
if
if
you
we
take
turn
this
it-
one and just turn it this way, the back end's gonna be perpendicular with the street.
The side.
Right, this is the side, this is the street,
Oh, yeah.
so it would be this way, so the back of the property,
It
the
might
building.
work, it might work that way, but
Yeah, without actually seeing it platted though, it's hard to tell.
Right.
How much parking you've got left there, I mean, it's gotta be a concern. To me it is anyway,
yeah, it
Rebecca?
is.
you know, before,
I understand not having this drawing done up, the architectural sketch done because of
Right.
the cost involved. But the bottom line is, are we willing to allow them to build on a 12-foot setback as opposed to a 25-foot setback on that street?
Yes, Don?
My only question about it is we allowed a house, I believe right next to it, wasn't it,
Up a little bit, yeah.
on the same street, we allowed a house to be up that far.
8, 11, 14.
8, 11, 14, okay. And if this was turned properly on the plat that we have, we might could understand it better, and they may be able to set it further back and gain more room than the 12 or 13 feet. Do you think, Jimmy, or not?
From what Mr. Quarles is telling me, the 13 feet that they need is with it turned. So if they're already factoring in the turn in the building to where the long way perpendicular with the street to get that 13 feet. That's how they were able to go from 1 to 13.
I see two sides to this, council, the council board. We've made an exception for 811 14th Street because it was an existing building. This is a potential new building, so it's not already a legal non-conforming. And I think that's our issue, is what we want to do with it. Do we want to allow it
Up to you.
to encroach? It won't be encroaching because we're giving them permission, but to be in line with the other buildings in those blocks. Yes, Jared?
I have concern with the parking, I'd like to know if there is adequate parking there. I think that we need to start considering that more in the future. When we're allowing multi-residential, you know, that's very important, I feel, because we don't want people parking on our shoulders, especially after we get the new roads and everything done and all that.
If I may, Ms. Mayor, that 13 feet is from the property line. There's still gonna be another 12 to 15 feet without going out there and measuring it from the property line to the street. It's just his property line is way over here. He still has grass from here all the way to the street. So it's not gonna, the house ain't gonna be 13 feet from the street. You're gonna have a big easement, then another 13 feet for the variance if they get it, and then the house.
That's helpful, thank you.
When is our,
I'm sorry.
when is our next meeting? I don't even know the date.
Don?
Hold on, because Jerry didn't hear you, Jimmy. Would
No,
you-
I didn't hear you.
Oh, I apologize. I just said that's important to know, that there's an easement and then 13 feet of property. That should satisfy any parking concern, I would think, because there's space there.
This is our narrow, I'm sorry, Mayor.
Go ahead.
This is our narrow street that we've dealt with before. Actually, we've got one lane. The other part of the street was never completed. And if it ever is enlarged, then it would move over that way. I really don't have a lot of problem with letting them build it, other than I would like to see it properly platted so we can actually see what we're looking at. And I bet we could live with it if we had it.
Let's let Jill speak. I think she has.
I didn't know if you wanted me to see if the Owens were on, if they wanted to answer any questions.
You can see if they're there.
Okay.
In the meantime, Jimmy, do we have parking requirements in residential as we do in commercial?
It's not, I've been asked one time by BV for a customer to provide parking, and it seems like it's something that they just implemented, because I've done many of these residential builds, and they've never asked for parking. There's maybe one or two permits before this, they asked for a parking layout. So that's something that I can get them to provide, if that's something that y'all want, but I haven't been asking them for one up until late.
Well, we need to consider our codes anyway, and that's really not an important issue right now, I don't believe, because if we go by the 2015 or 16 or 17 code, whatever's the latest code now, we're still under the 2003 code.
That's
So.
right.
Do you have any comments from the Owens?
Mr. and Miss Owen, are either one of you on this call? There's a phone number that I don't recognize, but other than that, I don't see anybody by that name. If you are on the call, please unmute yourself and speak.
Don?
Thank you.
Mayor, speaking from a builder perspective of this, I don't see a major problem with putting it there, other than I would like to see the layout, the plot plan, showing the parking and things of this nature, so we are far enough off the street, since we're on that narrow piece of asphalt,
Right.
which comes over. We have already given one variance, so I would not want to discriminate against these folks if we can do it. So I'd like to table it and have another, maybe Jimmy can, would that work, Jimmy, get back with them and try to get us at
Whatever you guys need me to do, I can take care of it. I can also bring you a Google map picture, and I could probably do that in about 5 minutes and show you where the property line is and then how much to the street. And if you want that, or if I can get with Mr. Quarles and ask them to provide another architectural drawing showing their changes.
Yeah, it shouldn't be, I'm sorry, Ma'am.
Go ahead.
It shouldn't be that expensive just to have a plot plan drawn up. Matter of fact, I
Yeah,
could
site
do
plan.
it, or you could do it. So, I believe it would help the council and all of us look at it,
Whatever y'all
so
need.
they'll understand, where we're headed with it, or where you're headed with it.
I agree, since we've had a public hearing, I think there's no reason to have a second public hearing since we're continuing this until a later date. So I've got a motion to continue till October,
First.
we've got a lot on October 1st, but for now, we'll put it October 1st, council,
Yes.
if that's okay with you?
Let's do that, let's get it done.
Okay, do I have a second? Sherry seconds. Further discussion? All in favor? All in favor, none opposed. And we will get on this as quickly as we can to give you resolution.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Rebecca makes a motion to adjourn. Sherry seconds. Any discussion? All in favor? All in favor, none
All in
opposed.
favor, yes.
This meeting of the Board of Adjustments is adjourned at 6:04.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy.